headlines on Reporting Scotland this Monday lunchtime. An investigation finds private cosmetic surgery patients aren't always protected when things go wrong. And the SNP want to block Boris Johnson's December election date and bring it forward. Good afternoon. There are claims that one of the country's leading cosmetic surgery providers has put patients at risk by using surgeons based outside the UK. BBC Scotland's Disclosure programme has heard from patients of so-called fly-in, fly-out surgeons who say they've had serious complications and have struggled to pursue doctors because they have left the country. A warning that Lucy Adams' report contains some graphic images.
Tracy Foley is looking after her son, Cian. It should be a happy time, but she spent the last 4 years struggling to get over the consequences of surgery. It was booked through Transform, and her surgeon has now left the country. Tracy lived with these painful open wounds for 6 months, caused by the implants which were too big.
So from, say, like there, round, and then underneath, in the underneath bit here, there was like a big, large hole. It was like the size of a penny, and it was like really deep as well.
Her surgeon was Dana Vasilescu from Romania. She worked for Transform at clinics across the UK in 2015. 6 weeks after surgery, Tracy returned to the clinic, concerned her wounds had still not healed. She and her mum saw a nurse.
The smell of it was...
If you were just sitting beside me, you could smell. It was just disgusting.
I knew there was something wasn't right, you know. Well, I knew anyway, because I could see. But it was horrible.
An expert report found the decision to use such big implants was inadequate and inappropriate, and that her care was below the standard expected of a consultant plastic surgeon. Shortly after Tracy's surgery, Ms. Vasilescu went back to Romania. National television reported on her treatment of Tracy. She still works in a major hospital in the country. Transform paid for Tracy's revision surgery and expenses. We contacted Ms. Vasilescu in Romania, but she refused to engage with the BBC or answer questions. Lucy Adams, Reporting Scotland.
And you can see more on Lucy Adams' investigation in Disclosure When Cosmetic Surgery Goes Wrong tonight at 8:30 on BBC One Scotland and also on the BBC One iPlayer. The leader of the SNP at Westminster, Ian Blackford, says he'll be doing all he can to get a general election as soon as possible. Later this afternoon, MPs will debate and vote on the Prime Minister's proposal to hold a ballot on the 12th of December. But it's widely predicted that Boris Johnson will not gain the two-thirds majority required. Our Westminster correspondent David Porter is outside the Commons for us this lunchtime. So David, MPs do want an election, but they just can't agree when.
Sally, I think there's a fair amount of truth in that statement. All MPs and all parties say that they want an early election to break the Brexit impasse, but they want it on their terms, or perhaps more accurately on their timing. There are a huge number of moving parts in this story at the moment, and things are developing all the time. So where are we today? Well, this morning the EU announced that it would be granting the UK a Brexit extension up until January the 31st, if necessary. That means that the UK will not leave the EU on this Thursday, despite what the Prime Minister has said. Here at Westminster, attention is turning very much to when the general election will take place. Boris Johnson would like to get his Withdrawal Act through the House of Commons and Parliament and then hold a general election on December the 12th. The SNP and the Liberal Democrats say, no, let's not worry about getting the Withdrawal Act through. Let's have a general election to sort this out, but let's do it slightly earlier in that week on the 9th of December. Today, the Westminster leader of the SNP, Ian Blackford, said it was now hugely important and vital that we have a general election sooner rather than later.
There's a bill that we're bringing forward that will allow Parliament to rise this week to have a general election on the 9th of December, and I'm absolutely determined that people in Scotland have got their say on this, that they have the right to say that we are European citizens, we wish to remain so, and our future should be determined by the people in Scotland determining their future, not Boris Johnson or anyone else that's in number 10.
Now, MPs will be voting on Boris Johnson's proposals early on this evening. It seems unlikely he will get his two-thirds majority that he needs. Now, Downing Street now appears to be going for a plan B if, as expected, their plan A fails. And that plan would basically tomorrow bringing forward some kind of amendment very similar to that put forward by the SNP and the Liberal Democrats for a slightly earlier election date. It means, when we sum it all up, that an election is now more likely than not before Christmas. Watch this space.
David Porter at Westminster, thank you very much. BBC Scotland has learned an investigation has been launched into a suspected security breach at the Crown Office's premises in Aberdeen. A member of staff has been suspended and Police Scotland is investigating the suspected breach in the office's evidence store. The Crown Office says a review is ongoing and security measures are being strengthened. A call is being made for a full review of Highland Council's version of the controversial named person scheme. It comes after national legislation designed to roll out the policy across Scotland was scrapped following a successful legal challenge and mounting opposition at Holyrood. Opponents labelled it a Big Brother-style snooper's charter, and following legal challenges, the Supreme Court ruled that the information sharing involved breached the European Convention on Human Rights. Highland Council say they're currently considering what changes they need to make. Citizens Advice Scotland say thousands of people have approached them for help over council tax debts, totalling more than £6 million. The charity says debts averaged £1,900 in 2018-19, which is higher than the average council tax payment. It's urging people to check if they're eligible for a reduction and calling on local authorities to help those unable to pay avoid getting into serious financial difficulties. The Scottish Government's being asked to give small businesses a say in how the planned deposit return scheme will work. Shoppers will pay an extra 20 pence when they buy drinks in cans or bottles and get money back when they recycle them. The Scottish Government says it's keen to help businesses prepare for the move. Let's get the latest on the weather now. Here's Judith.
Thank you, Sally. A very good afternoon to you. A nice quiet start to the working week before things turn a bit more changeable towards the end of the week. We saw a fairly widespread frost this morning. I think we'll see another one tonight as well. But for most of us, it's a lovely afternoon, dry with good sunny spells. Still a number of showers across the north, I think mainly focused across the northeast as the winds start to back into the northeast itself, eventually backing easterly. So we'll see one or two pushing into the east coast and a bit of cloud pushing through into the east and the central lowlands as well. Temperature-wise, around about 7 in the north, 9 in the south. It'll feel cold in that northerly airflow though. Into this evening, the showers tend to ease in the north. Elsewhere, it's dry overnight, clear spells as well. Possibility of some mist and fog patches forming, and again we'll see that widespread frost as temperatures fall away sharply to around freezing, if not below, for many higher over the Isles at around 4 or 5 degrees. So tomorrow it's another dry start, a frosty start. Again, you might have to scrape your car first thing, but plenty of sunshine, any mist and fog clearing away as we head through the morning. And we should see good sunny spells for all, pretty much dry right across the country. And again, temperature-wise, perhaps a wee notch up in today's values, but generally around the 9 Celsius mark. So as we head into Wednesday, it starts off dry after a dry night Tuesday. This weather front eventually pushing in towards the southwest later on Wednesday and overnight, bringing some rain and a strengthening southerly wind, but for all intents and purposes, it's dry, good sunny spells after a chilly start, clouds starting to push in to the southwest. That's your forecast.
Thank you. Laura Miller will be here with Reporting Scotland at 6:30. Have a very good afternoon.